The midsize and compact truck segment are making a huge comeback in 2023, 2024, and beyond. We don't even have all the competitors out on the market. We still have that Toyota Scout that may be coming next year or 2 years, we'll see. But all of these trucks have been refreshed, redesigned, all new offerings, whether we're talking about the Tacoma, the Frontier, the Ranger, the Maverick, everything is new, everything is refreshed. Today we talk about the big blue oval, and is the Maverick even in the same realm as the Ranger? Let's get into this.
Hello everybody and welcome to Performance on Wheels. If you're new here, my dad Todd and I run this channel and we make all types of different car videos and all types of different cars. So be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, join us for our journeys, and let's give a quick shout out to Apple Autos for supplying the new Ford Ranger that is used in today's video. If you guys are interested in this new Ford Ranger, be sure to check out the link down in the description below.
Awesome. Before we get into this, we'll cover what we'll talk about in just a second, but I think it's important to know that if you're in the Maverick world, we are the #1 YouTube channel on the Ford Maverick. We have all sorts of different videos covering multiple different trim levels and different modifications associated with the Maverick. Obviously, we have a little bit different tuned up Maverick in today's video that we're doing this side-by-side comparison on, but we'll also throw in some footage throughout the video to show a completely stock factory one. It's kind of fun to see like what a big bad Maverick looks like compared to just a stock Ranger, to give even that size comparison, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if you're purchasing one of these vehicles and you're in the market to purchase a Maverick or a Ranger, we can just get it out of the way right off the bat that the more capable one of these two trucks is the Ranger in just about every single way. With its body-on-frame design, it is better at off-roading with its articulation. It has more towing capacity because of that design. It's able to have more payload. Every single truck-like item, the Ranger is going to do better than the Maverick. However, in this video, we're going to overall compare these two vehicles as if you don't do a whole lot of big truck stuff. If you only need to tow 4,000 pounds on occasion, which one of these vehicles is the better buy? Is it a better option to buy the smaller Maverick and have 2,000 pounds of towing capacity and get 40 miles per gallon? Or should you get a base model Ranger? Like which one of these two trucks makes more sense to buy?
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna cover in today's video.
And we are on the upper end of the trim platform. We are looking at Lariat versus Lariat. Maybe a future video, if there's maybe a few comments down below, we could do an XL versus an XL as well to see what that difference is. We're looking at right around $11,000 price difference on the MSRP of the Maverick versus the Lariat Ranger.
Even though the Maverick that we're featuring in today's video is lifted with big wheels and tires on it, it is still completely towered over by the completely stock Ford Ranger over here. Everything about the Ranger is bigger than the Maverick. It's wider, it's longer, it's taller. It is a larger truck than the Maverick, which is quite obvious, especially when you're driving the two and standing next to them. The Ranger feels a lot bigger. Now, I wanted to talk about the front ends of these two trucks. We are comparing a 2024 to a 2024. The 2025 Maverick is going to be released soon, and it's going to have some subtle changes, or substantial changes, I should say, over the outgoing 24 model year here. And let's talk about on the front end, comparing these.
On your same point, as we transition into talking about the front end, like the 23 Ranger is dramatically different than the 24 Ranger as well, right? Completely refreshed, completely redesigned. So just know that if you're kind of cross-shopping these and you're filtering the different model years, there are some substantial changes from year to year. 25 coming for the Maverick, and that 23 to 24 transition on the Ranger. Austin, I really do like the redesign, especially with like the F-150 inspired headlights they put on the Ranger, how that daytime running light on this Lariat goes all the way around. And one thing I know right off the bat that I have that you do not have over on that Maverick is the performance LED headlights.
Yeah, on the Maverick here for the Lariat trim, all you get is an LED daytime runner. Other than that, it's basically the same housing that you get in the XLT. However, there's a little black trim on the inside, but no fancy LED lights or anything like that, just some standard LED bulbs versus the whole unit that you get over on the Lariat over there. And I also noticed that you have fog lights, which even in the highest trim, no matter how you spec it Maverick, you cannot get those.
Right, and the tow hooks, right? You have tow hooks, I have tow hooks,
yes,
but you can only get tow hooks on certain trim models.
Correct. On the FX4 package that this Maverick is featuring, I do have some pretty nasty and aggressive looking tow hooks that are exposed, and yours look a lot better when you get the FX4 as well. However, that's the only way you can even get them up front on the front of the Maverick here.
Your front radar is completely obvious for that adaptive cruise control, right?
Yeah.
Like, we don't even really know where the adaptive cruise control is on the Ranger, whether it's coming from the camera up on the windshield or if it's somehow integrated into that massive blue oval. Like, where's it coming from? Who knows?
They did a very good job of hiding wherever the radar is in there, and it does have adaptive cruise. It has all that stuff. So if somebody knows where the radar is on the new Ranger, I'm actually quite curious. Let us know down in the comments below. But I can tell you, no matter where it is, it looks a heck of a lot bigger than the big thing sat right in the center of the grill on the front of the Maverick
and
here.
your itty bitty oval over there.
Yeah, it's
cute
pretty
little
small
guy
compared to yours, isn't it?
The other fun thing as we look down lower on both of the trucks here is that we can see that transmission cooler down low. You have active shutters, I have active shutters. You have it spec'd in such a manner over there that your towing capacity is right around 4,000 pounds.
It is 4,000 pounds. It's the 4K tow package.
That kind of makes sense now that you say it. So that's it. You can't tow any more than that on a Maverick.
Nope.
Where there is a greater variance of towing capability on the Ranger, as Austin mentioned early on. Body on frame truck, more built like a truck versus the unibody on the Maverick. The towing capacity, depending on specification over on the Ranger, can be anywhere from like 5,500 all the way up to about 7,500 pounds.
Before we move on to the sides of these trucks, let's go ahead and talk about what's powering them. Now, over here in my Maverick, I have 2 available engine options, and what do you have over there?
There's actually 3, but we'll talk about that in a second, Austin.
All right, so in the Maverick here, this one is equipped with the larger engine, which is the 2-liter EcoBoost. You can also get the 2.5-liter hybrid engine. I personally have owned both the 2-liter EcoBoost and the 2.5 hybrid. And the 2-liter EcoBoost all-wheel drive, I got anywhere from, I'd say, 25 to 28 miles per gallon on a day-to-day basis and on highway road trips. Here with the FX4 package and the different rear end, this is before it was lifted and everything, I got about 22 to 23 miles per gallon doing the same type of driving that I did with my previous without the FX4 and 4K tow package. Now you can get the 2.5-liter hybrid as well, and that you can see anywhere from, I'd say, 35 to 40 miles per gallon, depending on the type of roads that you're on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, transitioning over to the Ranger here, those 3 different engine options that were noted are exactly the same as the Bronco. That is because the Ranger is on the Ford Bronco platform, right? So same frame, body on frame concept. So those engine options, the one we're looking at today, this black Lariat here, this is the 2.3 liter, that's the inline 4, right? And that has the little EcoBoost, like pretty much every Ford engine outside of a V8 does nowadays.
I'm not gonna lie, that engine is super lackluster, but it does what it needs to do.
It does. And if we were to step up to the top tier engine outside of the Raptor, that would be a 2.7 liter V6. That's an EcoBoost. We've had a lot of seat time in that engine in the Bronco, and that's a fun motor. It's a good time.
Fun engine, yeah.
That'll put out about 315 horsepower and around 400 pound-feet of torque versus the 270 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque that we're finding in the inline 4-cylinder.
And then you also have the Raptor, which is the
Raptor.
3-liter.
Yes.
3-liter, and that's got like what, 405 horse, I think? Or
405 horse, you're right on there. So with that, there's the miles per gallon too, right? There's no hybrid version currently available. I can only imagine one is coming at some point in the Ranger, that is. But you're gonna be talking about low to mid 20s, and if you're a little bit aggressive on that throttle, you're going to see high teens. If you put big wheels and tires on it, it's just like anything, right? So your best gas mileage will be out of this 4-cylinder, and on the best day with a tailwind, you might see mid 20s mile per gallon.
So it is about the same as the Maverick, actually, when it comes to gas mileage.
It
It's a
is.
2-liter and all-wheel drive, which is interesting if you do spec with that engine. However, the 250 horsepower and 277 pound-feet of torque that the 2-liter EcoBoost puts out in the Maverick is much more enjoyable and much peppier to drive in this lightweight chassis versus the 2.3 that you have sitting in the Ranger over there, in my personal opinion. I really like this engine in the Maverick. It's super, super fun. It puts a smile on my face, and with the exhaust that I put on it, actually sounds good. Take a listen.
Austin, now that we're on the side of the trucks, I think it's important to note that we're going to see a trend that we didn't point out on the front. There's a camera on the front of the Ranger, and there's also a camera on the mirror of the Ranger for that whole 360 view, right?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, the Maverick is, you could not get a 360-degree camera in the 2024 model year. However, lots of 2025 units have been spotted, and they do have it. In my personal opinion, I just don't see why you'd ever need a 360-degree camera on such a small vehicle like the Maverick here. Super beneficial here on the Ranger, but I know it's coming in 25. I just don't see the benefits of it, to be completely honest with you.
As we continue to talk about the side and some of the things that stick out to Austin and I, it's important to just throw the reminder, we're at the top trim, we're at the Lariat on these two trucks, and there's an $11,000 price difference. So we're definitely seeing some of that $11,000 in not only some of the tech, but some of those little luxury offerings, even simple things like the turn signal that's integrated into the mirror.
Look how big this thing is compared to that. I mean, you put it at this angle, it really puts into perspective how much bigger the Ranger is than the Maverick sitting over there.
The lifted Maverick.
And that's a lifted Maverick with big wheels and tires on it too. So it's a completely different story when we're talking about a stock one. But yeah, this angle here puts into perspective just how much bigger the Ranger is. And one of the things that I don't really like about the Ranger's body compared to the Maverick, I'm gonna be honest, is it's kind of bubbly. The Maverick's kind of angular. It looks a little bit more aggressive in my opinion. I think they look great lifted. They look great lowered. The Ranger here, it just looks, it's like the 2000s F-150. It's kind of bubbly. It doesn't have super angular lines. They're just kind of soft and smooth, if you know what I mean.
Some of the few observations I have that may be important, say if you live on a gravel road or maybe you're really harsh on your cars, like kicking up rocks and whatnot, is the Maverick and the Lariat trim has a lot more plastic, whether you're talking about up on top of the bed there, behind the wheels, or more importantly, underneath the doors, that is all hard plastic, right? We do have that same Lariat up on that front fender that we will find on the Ranger as well, but as we look at the Ranger, we'll notice that the wheel arches have a nice two-tone trim, but the thing that sticks out to me is all of that surface underneath those doors is a painted surface. So if you're a truck and you like to be off-road and you like to kick some rocks up, it doesn't have that same hard plastic. We do have the hard plastic, however, behind that rear wheel. I think that is important on a truck because we are going to be slinging some rocks. When we're looking at the back end, I can't help but make the comment about I really love the look of like the blacked out tail lights on the Ranger, especially from that side profile.
Yep.
For how big and bulky there are, obviously there's some sensors in there for the blind spot or whatever, but they look really good when that whole black on black concept going on there.
I would agree, those do look really good, and you can get those in the Maverick as well with the black appearance package or the Tremor. Both of those do come up with some blacked out housings, but they are not as black as these. These look really cool. I love the way those look, and I hope they integrate those into the 2025 Maverick redesign. Now, talking about the backs of these things, two Lariats.
Yeah.
This should be the most capable part of these trucks, right?
You would think so, and there are some similarities, but there's obviously some differences here too, right? The plastic party continues on the Maverick in the back, where you have, I'm assuming if you knock on that thing over there, that's going to be steel down where it's painted, is it not?
It sure as heck feels like it is. Yeah, definitely a lot more aggressive of a rear bumper than we have on the back of the Maverick here. Does look like we have hitches on both of these, but what's interesting is my Maverick over here has a 7-pin connector, and the Ranger doesn't.
It does. It's just next to the license plate.
Oh yeah, my bad. My apologies.
It's all good.
Good eye. And yeah, the Maverick does have the tow package on it, so that's the only way that you can get that 7-pin connector on the Maverick here. Otherwise, it comes standard with just your standard, what is it, 6-prong or something like that?
It's either 4 or 7, I believe.
Okay, okay.
Whatever.
One of those,
We're not
whatever.
trailer experts. Good thing we're not towing anything.
Very true.
I see some other similarities here. We obviously have the oval, the blue oval there, and they both have the reverse cameras underneath,
Yes,
integrated into that. What's interesting is the Maverick has a keyhole on the tailgate where the Ranger does not. I don't know why it has a keyhole, because it has a keyless fob, does it not?
It does, yeah. My best guess is just in case you need to open it and the key's dead. I guess I don't really know. I'm not sure why that is, but it is, both of these are power locking tailgates.
One thing, as we transition to actually looking in the bed, we'll notice that the Ranger has a lot more of the functionality and some of the features that you'll find in an F-150. Now you'll notice that he had the nice dampening, slow open tailgate, which is a nice feature.
Yes, it is. It is pretty slick. In the Maverick, you cannot do that, but there is the amazing Amazon world of aftermarket, and people have made it. Now, one thing that I do find very interesting is, for the Ranger being, of course, supposedly the more capable truck, is why in the world bedliner's standard on the Maverick, yet it's still another $500 option on the Ranger over here. Not only that, but you can get these awesome locking and sliding bed rails here on the Maverick, which are, again, an option on the Ranger. Now, the Ranger over here is still capable in the bed. We do have one power outlet and one auxiliary port, or whatever the heck you want to call it. But that's it. We don't have any lights or anything back here.
There's some integrated lights that are about mid-rail there. And so, I mean, maybe that's why you can't put the toe down, the tie-off point, is because it's got lights in the bed.
Yeah, the Maverick over here, however, though, has the little LED strip over there that you can turn on and off.
It's nice that you can turn it on and off, right?
Yeah, and then when you also turn that on, it turns on these bed lights as well.
Let me see. Hit a little button over here, see what happens?
Yeah,
Ding,
yeah,
ding.
see, there they are.
It's a very nice feature.
It's super nice. I would arguably say, straight from the factory, even though the Ranger's bed is bigger, the Maverick's bed almost has more features and capability in a smaller package.
Right, that is interesting, is it not? As we close these tailgates, I can't help but comment on the fun integration. It's fun that you can put different stickers in the inlays of both Maverick and Ranger on the aftermarket.
Yes, you can.
Big and bold and bodied into the truck bed there, letting you know what you're zipping down the road. I'm really looking forward to getting on the inside of these, because these are supposed to be the most luxurious offerings of each model. Let's see how quick we can get through this together, going through both trucks, front seat and back seat. We're gonna have to start with opening the truck and unlocking it. We do have the keyless fob and touch feature on both the door handles on the Maverick and the Ranger. So I went back and forth between these two, I don't even know how many times, 10 plus times, trying to see where my observations lied, which one is more comfortable, which one has more room, and here's what I have to share with you. There's some definite obvious differences. The Maverick is a brilliant interior, the storage, the capability. Some might view all the plastic touches as a pro, that you can't stain fabric. Some might view it as a con, because you can scratch the plastic very easily. It is important to note, even though we are in the Lariat and it looks like we have leather, this is not leather. It's essentially a bunch of crushed up milk cartons or plastic bottles. But anyways, this is a fake leather. It's a synthetic leather. Same on the steering wheel, our center console. Like, there are some soft touch points in here, but this is fake stuff. You get into the Ranger, we'll get there in a second. So it's comfortable in here. It really genuinely is. It feels very similar to the Ranger. I'm gonna hop in the back seat quick, just so you can see my 6-foot self back there. So walk with me back here and take a peek. Getting in is not a big deal, right? I have that, again, front driver's seat, where I'm comfortable. My legs and knees are pushed all the way into that indentation of the seat, but at the end of the day, it's a comfortable sitting position. Obviously, my headroom is more than enough. My arms with that center pull-down armrest they're touching soft touch points, which is important, obviously, for a longer trip. One thing I know about the Maverick that I'm not a huge fan of is you have that speaker right next to your head. So whether it's navigation going through there, or if it's a song you don't like there's no getting away from it. It is right there. Very high expectations getting into the Ranger. $11,000 difference. Don't forget that. So I have a high expectation to be wowed in this interior. That $11,000 has to be justified in here is what I'm telling myself as I'm going between these two vehicles. My first impressions hopping into the Ranger from the Maverick are there's a lot more cushion that I noticed right away. The seats have a little more cushion to them. There's a little bit more bolstering that sucks you in right away. And the center armrest definitely has more cushion compared to the Maverick. What I will also say is the smell in here is just better. Not only is it a new car, but there's actual leather in here, which makes it, it just feels a little bit nicer with that in mind. We have some greater trim that on the dashboard and the doors where they throw some stitching in and put some soft touching there, where in the Maverick all those items are still just hard plastic. I have a pretty interesting point to make here in just a second, but obviously we're in the new redesigned Ranger, so we have a very similar screen to what we're used to in not only vehicles like the Mach-E but also the Explorer, a full digital dash, so the tech definitely feels better, not as cheap in here compared to the Maverick that still has some of the analog on the dash and obviously that really small screen for your infotainment and whatnot. We need to get into the back seat really quick because I have an interesting point to make. And what that point is, as you can see when I get in here, is there's really not a ton of difference when it comes to the size. My legs still hit the back of the seat and the indentation. I still have some nice touches. My pull down armrest has the two cup holders just like the Maverick. So where my arms lay are soft touches. I've got plenty of headroom. So your side to side as well as your front to back, although the size dimensions look substantial on the outside, and that's clear to the eye, the feel of the inside is not as substantial as you would think.
The 2.3 liter is pretty lackluster in the Ranger here. It gets you from point A, it gets you to point B, and that's about all it does. It's not a very enjoyable engine to pilot behind the wheel of, but like I said, it gets you from point A to point B. Behind the wheel of the Ranger, the visibility is, I mean, the Mavericks is good, but the Ranger just feels better. The windshield feels bigger, the mirrors are bigger, the windows are bigger, so the overall visibility and light coming into the interior, there's more of it. It feels like a bigger vehicle when you're sitting on the inside. Now down low in the cabin, it doesn't feel a whole lot different, but when you look up and when you look around you, it does feel a bit larger than the Maverick. And just cruising around here, I can immediately tell you that the suspension in the Ranger is a little bit bouncier. You bounce around a little bit more. It's not as smooth as a ride. A lot of that has to do with the body on frame versus the unibody platform in the two of these vehicles. It is a great little truck. It's super easy to drive. The visibility is amazing. It's easier to move around than an F-150 and not as easy to move around as a Maverick, and that's my best way of describing it. I will admit, I'm usually not the biggest fan or care to knock on shifters like some people do, but this thing's just plain old stupid. I'm not a fan of the way that this works at all. It feels weird. Multiple times a day I've accidentally put it in park trying to go into reverse. Never had that issue with the Maverick's turn dial. I know a lot of people hate that, but I've honestly never really had an issue with it. But this thing, I don't like it. It feels weird, feels awkward. Just not a fan of the shifter in this thing. The tech, however, the tech's a big upgrade over the Maverick. Of course, that's going to change going into 25, where I think the Maverick's going to pretty much take on Ford Escape screen. But the digital dash is super nice. The screen's super nice. Just like in the Maverick, we got a wireless charger. Just like in the Maverick, we got a B&O sound system, both of which are pretty dang solid. The Maverick has a little bit more storage in the doors. The Ranger has a little bit more storage in the center. Yeah, they're both great trucks. Let's hop in the Maverick and drive that quick. There is one thing that the Ranger has that the Maverick doesn't, that I think is just plain out stupid considering the Maverick's $38,000. Is that this has an automatic dimming rear view mirror. The Maverick has a manual dimming rear view mirror. Even in Lariat trim, 40 grand, manual dimming rear view mirror. Just stupid to me. Let's hop in it though. I will admit, the Maverick has a little bit more pep to it than the Ranger with the 2 liter in it. even with the lift and big wheels and tires, it feels a bit quicker than the Ranger does. And it's a little bit more fun to drive. It's a little bit more fun to throw into corners because it's a little bit more nimble, and it handles a bit better than the Ranger just because of its size and it being a unibody overall. I think around town it is more fun to drive than the Ranger. Granted, of course, if I was doing anything truck related or off-road, I'd pick the Ranger all day long. And now that we're in here as well, we need to talk about how much better the ride quality is being a unibody as well. Same road that we just went on with the Ranger, and it definitely takes the bumps, but they're a lot more subtle. It doesn't shake us around nearly as much as the Ranger did. I mean, you can obviously still feel them, but it's not nearly as aggressive or jagged. And overall, being behind the Maverick, the visibility isn't as good. I mean, it's still very good visibility. I've never had an issue with that. But the Ranger's windshield is bigger, the mirrors are bigger, the windows are bigger. But it's super easy to drive. It's fun to drive. And it has a little bit of pep in its step. And with the exhaust on it, this is kind of a fun truck. I like the Maverick a lot. One thing I do find stupid, however, and now that we're in here, you can really tell the differences, is how cheap and old and dated this screen looks compared to the Ranger. This thing is tiny. I love the tactile climate control. I think that's amazing. This whole system right here, very, very good. But this is so unbelievably dated feeling after we got out of the Ranger. Now, I don't mind this. I still really like the Speedo with the digital dash in the center of it. Not the full digital dash versus this. I don't really care. I like them both. But this is just super dated feeling, and the Ranger wins by an absolute long shot when it comes to tech.
Austin, so the price range on the Maverick versus the Ranger, the Maverick starts at 25 grandish and goes all the way up to 40 in its top trim,
Yep.
where the Ranger starts at 32 and goes all the way up to 55 in that Raptor trim, right?
Yep.
So there is some substantial price difference there, but there's also the opportunity to price shop or to do a comparison at the same price points, just trim dependent, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And these are both really great trucks. I'm not gonna lie. I think they're both awesome. They both fit a different person. I don't think that these are really cross-shoppable. I don't. They're just not. This one's so much bigger. I like the Maverick.
You want me to argue with you on this?
Go ahead.
Okay, so we can find the trims that are the same price. We could get motors that have the same mile per gallon. The interior feel, as far as the size, is very similar. So I think there are people that might say, I just don't want a truck that big. Or, boy, the Maverick is just that cute.
Yeah, I could see where you're coming from there. In my personal opinion, I like the Maverick more. I think it fits me more. And it just comes down to ultimately what fits you, in my opinion.
You nailed it. My head is in the same spot. But what I would say is I would take a bottom trim Maverick any day over a Ranger. But if someone gave me the option, a top trim Maverick versus a top trim Ranger, being that Raptor, I would pick the Raptor Ranger all day.
Obviously, I
right?
would too.
What's
yeah,
up?
The Ranger Raptor is awesome. Super, super cool truck. And I wish that there was a little bit more of a performance-focused Maverick. Maybe
Next
there will
year's
be
a
in
new
the
year.
future. I guess we'll find out. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Let me know which one you guys like more down in the comments below. Maverick or Ranger? Which one do you pick? We'll see you next time.